everybody wants to get a partner because they think it will motivate them or they'll be better together. So everybody's like, oh, hey, me and my buddy from high school are gonna partner on this. It's like, don't do it. Just share your story with people. People love to see that. They love to see it coming across as genuine. People hate gurus and they can sniff them out.
Oh yeah.
So just because they're seeing what we're doing, I probably get 5 or plus leads per day for free just from that.
Wow.
Easy.
I think it's also important too to not get lost in consuming so much social media that you don't have time to focus on the thing that's actually.
If you think about, are you consuming more content than you produce?
Yeah.
Then you're just like, oh, consuming is just a negative thing, and I am so guilty of it.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. You need to be doing way more creating than consuming.
Welcome to The Big Break Show, your go-to podcast for real estate investing, business acquisition, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, let's dive into Season 2 with your hosts, Rafa Loza and Dan Tollins.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Big Break Show. We have Hayden Albert here today, and we're still at the helm recording. So, as always, Dan Tollins. What's up, brother?
Still here, getting after it.
Making it through.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk today to Hayden about real estate.
Sir.
Yeah.
And what else do you want to talk about today?
Probably a little business, a little bit of maybe buying and selling and, creating a business and partnerships, I think probably be good.
Yeah.
Go out on that limb.
Yeah. Sounds good. I want to do that and also get into your branding and putting content out and then get into some deal sourcing.
Deal sourcing. That's a good one.
So.
Before we do all that, let everybody know who you are, what you're about, and why you're on the show.
Yeah, so I've been in this community. I've been around Dan for a while now. He sponsors some events that we go to, and so I've been friends with him for a minute, and I've just loved this local Charleston community. Super plugged in. I learned everything just from, getting in the rooms, being with a lot of people here. So enjoyed that. I was Navy for about 10 years, and then I got out of the Navy. I was a nuclear mechanic, so had a pretty stressful job, learning, teaching kids how to operate a nuclear reactor and operating myself, and that was something that was invaluable, in my growth and learning as a young man. So did that, got out, realized I just had a huge passion for creativity and being my own thing. I don't want to just say I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I just really wanted to create and be in charge of my destiny. So got the real estate bug, decided to start buying rentals. I kind of went backwards. So I bought some small multifamily, then I flipped houses, and then I got into a little bit of wholesaling and, deal acquisition. So went a little bit backwards, but it's kind of what I've been doing.
So when you were in the Navy, where were you stationed and how did you, decide to leave there and get to Charleston?
Yeah. So as a nuke, we call it, there's a base here locally in Charleston. So they have the 2 oldest nuclear reactors kind of in the world. This style of them are here in the river, which is kind of cool. And some 18, 19, 20-year-olds are operating them, which is, most people don't know that. So came here, trained back in 2014, 15, then went on deployment out in Seattle, Washington, had a good time, served on the USS Nimitz, which is a aircraft carrier. That was a blast, but super stressful. But when you have PTSD, you kind of remember the good parts about it. So I'm joking, but you remember the good parts with your buddies, and so I really look back on that time as fondly. Of made some of the best friendships I've ever made, and then came back here, and then I became an instructor for the next generation, trained them up, got them ready to go out to sea. So met my wife here, and then been here ever since.
So I'm curious, we base a lot around mindset and investing and stuff like that. And obviously you're super successful in what you do now. So what made you go from that point to want to investing? Like you got the real estate bug. How did that come about? Did you pick up a phone, talk to someone like what happened?
So I'll see how far I can go into it as far as like my personal kind of why I did what I did. Sure. I say the easiest one for me to talk about would be I came here around 2019. I was still in the military as the instructor side of the house, and super grueling, super hard. I was really stressed out. I was almost having panic attacks. It was just a tough go. I was learning different platforms I wasn't used to. And then I also had my father pass away out of nowhere. So that was one of those big, like, gut-wrenching things for me. I looked at how his life played out, and he was like a great father, super happy on how everything went, but he didn't get to experience life the way I think he deserved, like with being cut short so quickly. So I looked at, okay, what am I doing in my life? I don't want to spend, 55 years working for somebody else, not getting to go on the family vacations, do the things that I want to do with my family. So it was a very abrupt, like, mindset shift of how do I change my destiny? I don't want to leave it up to somebody else.
Yeah.
I want to kind of forge my own path. So when we got married in 2019, I looked at how much we paid for our wedding venue. That was the biggest thing. I was like, holy cow. We spent $5,000 just for the venue. And that was in the off season on a Sunday for like 4 hours. And all of these rules didn't include anything. It was just the venue.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like, if you do the math on that, if I only rent it out for 3 days, just the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, half of the year, you make like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and there's no overheads. You don't do much.
Yeah.
You charge a security deposit, and if they don't clean it up, well, it's $1,800 to sweep the floors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Pretty quick. Yeah.
I read every book I could get my hand on for wedding venues. There's not that many. So I read them all, and then I was like, okay, wedding venues are just real estate. And then at that point, it was 6 months of, I would say, very prideful learning, meaning I didn't go out and like I wanted to learn for myself.
Yeah.
I didn't look for some kind of shortcut. I had to figure out every question I had, and I just poured into it. Every time I was driving, podcast. And I just found out enough about real estate through different podcasts. And then I just decided, well, let's go. So I bought my first property right when COVID hit, just when I took that like leap of faith. So I had all this emotional, like, life-changing things happen to me. I said, well, I'm going to do something. It doesn't matter. I'm going to figure it out. Bought a huge duplex, like March of 2020, and then just went from there.
March of 2020. Yeah. Wow. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Golly. All right. So you kind of got there. You said you got married in 2019.
Yep.
And I hear you have a baby on the way here.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah. November.
Okay. Are you guys going to be one and done, or what's the plan there?
She's saying one, but I feel like it's a boy. So having a boy, and I think I'm destined to be a girl dad at some point.
Right.
So I would like another one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Let's see how the first 2 years goes, if you get that far. So. Well, cool. So then you got into the duplex space, and then what kind of during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So how did that first venture go?
I would say I got lucky in the sense that it was the best time I could have bought. Everybody was fleeing from the space. They were freaking out. Everybody's the world is on fire. And I was like, well, let me make the biggest decision I've ever made. I'm getting out of the military, not going to have any income. Let's buy this huge asset or this liability. And, so I made a big decision. It worked out great for me. I renovated, I burred it. Okay. I could wrap my head around the burr method at that point. So renovated the back unit, renovated the front unit over like 2 years. I ended up buying it in March of 2020, like 305. Ended up selling it for 600 2 years later.
Sure. That's awesome.
So yeah, that was it was a big win. I put a lot of money into it, but I still made out really well. That would be my advice if somebody is like thinking about doing some rentals or burrs, just do everything in the business once. So I self-managed. I did, I was on call. I did a little bit of the work. I went through the steps as if a farmer, you're walking your whole field and you want to go through the different activities. So I did it all, and it was a very great, learning experience to springboard me into the next thing,
So you walked away with, $300K or so.
Yeah.
Plus I guess including your initial investment. What was the next kind of play from there?
Yeah. I just was like, well, let's try the burr method more. So I bought another project, and I was actually convinced people just to let me borrow their money. So convinced some people, hey, let me borrow the down payment. So I was doing that, where Dan at Rivers actually helped me kind of with some lenders. And so I got introduced to Rehab Wallet and different types of lending sources. And so I was buying, from wholesalers, and I bought a house for 93 grand, put some money into it. And then I refinanced that as well. So just kind of rolled it. I just rolled it from one to the next one. Very quickly ran out of money. Doesn't take much. I wasn't doing perfect burrs, and the market was so hot that, I was leaving money in each deal. So then, I had to go to my lenders and say, hey, I'm not giving you your money back. It's going to stay in the deal. I'm going to continue paying you your interest. Yeah. That aligned with their goals, so it was fine. But, to this day, some of their money's still in those deals, and they're just getting their money, and, it worked out great. And then I did that till about, like 3 or 4 of those that was within my access, my immediate reach. And then I realized I can't find any deals. It was 2021, 2022. The market was insane. Interest rates were so low, cash highest and best. It was just, I couldn't find deals. I would, wearing out my real estate agents. Hey, give me let's put an offer on this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And I'm just hustling, and I wasn't getting any deals. I couldn't find deals for, like a year, it felt like. So I decided, let's sit down and let's make some form of an acquisitions company. I don't know what that looked like, but I knew that I had to, listening to Bigger Pockets and different podcasts. It's like, well, you have mailers, you have callers, you have all of these different ways to bring in leads and deals. I need to do that. I can't be going and relying on real estate agents or wholesalers to feed me leads, because it's not enough. So.
And you went and let's just kind of dumb it down. So you went to, you're like pulling a list. I mean, were you getting mentored by anybody here locally that kind of helped guide you in ways that they were kind of doing that? Because I mean, during that time, when we were here, we were kind of already plugged in with some of the wholesalers before things went nuts, and said, hey, listen, like, we'll buy everything you get. So you basically had it sold, before you even had it contracted. And that went great for a long time, until all of a sudden, they started seeing that there's more value. Instead of making it 5, 10, 20 grand, and they're like, hey, I'm going to put this thing out there. And even now, they're putting things out there at, 75, 80% ARV. And so it's a little bit tighter time. But like you say, you weren't able to find deals where we were getting them before they were even signed. That's how we were doing 40 or 50 a year. And then we kind of saw where things were going, and we wanted to shift into more commercial and hotels and stuff. So that was kind of how we got out, but got into more business acquisitions. And I know that's a couple of things that you've done. You've started a couple of businesses and successfully exited. That's stuff that we're doing as far as not necessarily founding new businesses, but buying things that are ready for exit. We have a very specific buy box that we've learned. But tell us a little bit about how you got started in those couple of businesses, what they were, and then how you came to come to the mindset that it was time to sell.
So I started 2 different businesses kind of around the same time. I realized there was no deals out there for me that were easily obtainable. So started the acquisitions business, and that would really look like a wholesale business nowadays. Just a big funnel, casting a wide net, paying a bunch of money, hiring people. So I got my first deal, and it was actually a referral. It was a referral from my mother-in-law. It was one of her students, and she was in foreclosure. She didn't know it. She went through probate, inherited a property. I'm sure she was getting her doors beaten down, but she knew me, and because I was, a family friend at that point. And so I was able to get in the door with that, figuratively and literally. And then I was absolutely addicted to those assignment fees. Once you saw your first one, my first one was $45,000. And for the first assignment fee to hit, wow, like that took X amount of hours of work. Look at that payoff. That's half my yearly salary in the Navy. I'm doing this part-time at that point. So, so I got addicted to that. So I started building out, a typical acquisition style business. And then I also was transitioning out of the military around that 2022 timeframe. So I knew my real estate company was not off the ground to the point where I could just go parallel into that. I had to do something else. So my contractor actually was talking about creating a window company. I approached him and said, hey man, listen, I'm getting out. I know you've been throwing around this idea for years. Give me a base salary and let's do this. I'll take it from, I took it from an LLC, just the name, all the way to a successful retail business with a, brick and mortar location and trucks and stuff. So it was a good time. Huge learning experience going from never been in actual business, to running a retail company, where you're selling product and you're getting Google reviews and, you're paying your taxes and your retail taxes, sales, all of this stuff. And you have to get a license. And, I'm doing all of these things that I didn't know anything about. My partners, they didn't help. They were basically like, you run it, we'll basically,
we'll bankroll it.
Yeah. And so I had to do everything, which is what I signed up for. And so we got it, what you focus on grows. So as I was working on the window company, the real estate was kind of stagnant, like I had a guy that was working and we were trying, but we were, basically breaking even a lot of the time. Is the marketing for that would equal out what I was bringing in every time we got a deal. So it was tough, and I was working on two things. At least I had, some type of base pay.
Sure.
And, but growing that company just really opened your eyes to what my passion was. Like, what do I go back to what you focus on grows, is that just was so evident to me. I was like, I know my passion's in real estate.
Real estate, yeah.
I knew I wanted to create things. My biggest dream was to create a neighborhood when I was 10 years old. I was driving past an empty neighborhood and I was like, that'd be cool if I could build that one day, and so I knew that was the passion. It just was in the back of my mind. And I didn't I was too prideful to just quit the window thing. So we got to the point where we kind of sat down and we all looked at each other and we're like, Hayden, your passion is, that's what they're telling me, is your passion is real estate. We can see that. We'll go ahead and we'll buy you out. And then that's what I did. So step back, was able to sell that back to them, gave up my 1/3 ownership.
Yep.
And that was the best decision I've ever made. The window company's still very successful. They brought on somebody else and that was a much better fit. And I was passionate about it and he's doing great and the company's doing great, but it wasn't what I needed to be doing at that time. So it was great. I mean, to start a company like that and have that opportunity was very eye-opening for everything else I do. So every time I look at a new venture, it's like, okay, you're getting 3 hours of my time a week, because I know how much time it takes now to run a successful company. And if I'm going to be some form of an operator, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
it's very similar to what Kelly was telling us when we sat down with her, was as far as how active you got to be in something, and is that putting you towards whatever your goal is, or the next version of you, or whatever your scale is. Well, cool, man. That's cool. I was interested to hear how that exited, how that exit worked.
Yeah.
I'm actually really curious, really quick, before we go into something else here. So I'd like for you to talk about some of the learning lessons and hardships you went through with growing that business, because I think we've all done it. We've all been in businesses. We've all had some good ones. We've had some bad ones. Is there some things you can share with the audience and with us, of course, about this is what I learned and this is how I know? Because you said at the end, you're like, hey, now when I look at something, I know that it's I'm not going to be the operator.
Yep.
Number one, you don't like to be an operator, right? So what are some other things that you can share that you're like, if it wasn't for this, I never would have learned that? Because we talk a lot about failure and learning from failure, right? And applying failure, the learning lessons, so that you do better the next time. So do you have something like that you can share?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That would be partners. I think everybody wants to get a partner because they think it will motivate them or they'll be better together. So everybody's like, oh, hey, me and my buddy from high school are going to fucking partner on this. It's like, don't do it. Yeah. Don't partner with somebody. Any business is going to be extremely hard, so you kind of have to just do it yourself. Build the base, build the foundation, build the track record, build something yourself with. If you have to bring on a partner, it's got to be somebody that you've dated for a long time, somebody that you see yourself with 5-10 years from now, 20 years from now, somebody that you're going to file taxes with every year, somebody that you can trust and in a good situation, bad situation, how they're going to react, because that's going to be the undoing to a lot of these new businesses. I see my friends saying, oh, we're going to do this. no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
I see that you met that guy and he's your neighbor and you think he's going to work out great. It's not going to work out great. It's going to fail. I saw the writing on the wall. I gave that advice to one of my employees, and he's like, oh, how do I buy my partner out? I was like, I told you.
I told you this.
It's huge. I'm glad you brought that up, because part of it is like trusting that person, knowing you have each other's backs, right? Like, because there's gonna be times where you're gonna go through seasons and like somebody might be going through something tough and might kind of opt out and be like, dude, you never know what they're going through, right? Or maybe they just got lazy and don't want to do it. And you got to be, if you're going to partner with someone, you got to know going in that there might be times where you might have to step up and go a little bit above and beyond to make it work. Within reason, right? Obviously not carry the load, right? Because dude, that's a great topic, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because like I've been through some really bad partnerships and been through some really great partnerships. I have a few partnerships that I like absolutely love, right? And so that's a huge deal. Like, I mean, we can talk about partnerships for another hour about learning lessons of partnerships. So cool. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I'd say don't give away equity. I think a lot of businesses and younger businesses, I remember the first time I hired somebody, I would take anybody. I was like, I'll take you. Like, I don't know what your qualifications are. You might be a good fit. Well, I'll teach you. Well, then you're spending so much time teaching this person, taken away. It's not the right person. And, everybody kind of throws around equity. Like, oh, hey, I'll give you 50% ownership, 20% ownership, whatever, for you to want to hustle. If you haven't built a long enough track record to be successful in your business, you're not going to be able to give away. Like, giving away equity means nothing. It's not worth anything if the business is failing. Yeah. And you can incentivize people so many other ways. So
it's funny. And on the opposite side of that, I'm actually going through that. I had a partner that we gave some equity to do the part of work he was supposed to do. Didn't do shit. Right. Left us all hanging. And we're like, now we're going through a whole process. He's been removed and stuff like that. So he's no longer involved. But it's like, holy cow, the headache I have to endure. I'm still enduring the damn headache. You know what I mean? It's like, gosh darn it. Now you're stuck carrying all the work. When from the beginning, you should have just done it right from the get-go. Like, that was a huge learning lesson for me.
Yeah. It's going to be harder. It's going to be really hard for the first 3 years. And then, I'll start to get easier, start to make some money, but you have to be the pioneer in that. I think as the business owner, it's not something where you and somebody that you just met, just because you share the same idea, it's not going to go good. It's not going to go good.
I agree.
Well, let's kind of shift a little bit and talk about what you're doing now. That's kind of a little bit different than what other people are doing. In Charleston, things have really tightened up, and deals are not as you mentioned, they're not as plentiful. But I think I saw something with you and Dan Rivers maybe talking about buying some stuff, maybe a house that needs to be rehabbed, try to subdivide it off, and then putting at least one trailer, if not multiple.
I'll tell you about kind of what we're doing now. So I guess I'll start with, as you're growing, everything kind of goes through seasons, and your portfolio architecture really changes. I would say you're avoiding shiny object syndrome is a big part as well. So I've been, doing everything in real estate. I bought, you sent me a referral. I bought a subject $2 million property that you sent me, and would I do that again? Maybe not. It's not what I'm doing now. So we're going through changes. We've flipped, we've bought rentals, we've done everything. And now it's like, I've kind of exposed myself to this new niche where it seems like it's going to be something that's I'm going to have a lot of market share, and I'm going to be able to be a big player in that space. And there's not enough competition to warrant this huge operation. Because I scaled all the way to 10 employees, and I hated it. It sucked. And now I'm looking at this new operation that we're going to talk about is a lot more streamlined, doesn't take as much time. There's a lot more profit in it. And the deals we can kind of, work through without the stress of beating out 16 other people. And so, or spend tens of thousands. I was spending $40,000 a month in marketing for the wholesale operation, So this method is basically, we're looking for land. Typically having a house on it's going to be the easiest. Lots of our lenders locally, they understand houses, they understand normal real estate, and they'll lend on it. So if we can find a home, a mobile, whatever it is, some type of structure, get hard money on it, if it has extra acreage, that's just the bonus. So what we do is we try to underwrite it in such a way that we can flip the house and still break even or maybe make a little bit of money. And that allows us to subdivide off any of the extra land and kind of be in the land for $0. So allowing us to utilize debt that already exists, it's in our, our niche and our atmosphere that we understand and lenders understand, we can go ahead and leverage that into this like new development space where we can subdivide off a certain amount of parcels. And right now we're slapping a lot of mobiles on places. So mobile homes on 1 acre will sell for $300, $350 if it's in the Tri-County area. So if you're getting land for free or even $20,000, you're getting land for very cheap, and you're putting a mobile that cost you $110,000 and you're selling it for $350. It math, you know. So that's what we're doing. We're able to get financing directly from the mobile home dealer. They're allowing us to finance that. Like, they've gone back and forth anywhere from 80 to 95%, but they'll finance a good amount of it. Currently, they are financing the whole purchase, and everything that goes with placing a mobile. So I think they're actually,
So they're delivering it.
yeah.
But the other kicker was the septic system, right? If it's not, if you can't get public water and sewer, right?
Yep.
So they're doing everything, a turnkey product for you, and you can get 80 to 90% lending on it.
Exactly.
When did you say they're doing the septic also?
Yeah, they'll fund all of that. So we don't have to come out of pocket. That's the overwhelming thing with people with new construction is there's products out there, banks understand it, but you're usually at least 20% down or, and you have longer timelines. I go to the dealer and I say, give me this. I pick it off the shelf. I have the lot, and then they just come and place it. And then I put my money down and then I start paying. And by that time it's on the market. Yeah. So it's like shopping. You just shop, pick it out, and they deliver it. Yeah.
How long has that process been from, let's say, you close on the original property, then you got to get a survey done, and you're going through. Now, how long does that subdivide process take? And then while you're going through that, if you kind of already know it's going to be approved, are you already starting the other process of picking out the mobile?
Oh, yeah.
And
everything is, that's a great, everything's parallel path.
Yeah.
So, we're going to verify the big main ticket things first, like, hey, zoning allows X, Y, and Z, so we know we're going to be guaranteed this. So we verify that, hey, our back-end plan is feasible. Ideally, we do most of it while we're under contract. We'll actually submit the subdivide before we close. That's the ideal situation. So you do the survey, you do the soil test, if it's engineered or if it's regular septic, or if you can tap into stuff, if there's a well, or if we can tap into public water, all of that stuff. And so we can just go and basically do the subdivide, do the soil test, do everything all at the same time. Second we close, submit it to get subdivided. That takes about 8 to 12 weeks. And in that time, we've ordered the mobile. It's being manufactured, and those timelines match up about 2-3 months. So you really, when you close, you can get one of these things on market in 3 or 4 months, where you think about new construction that might take, that long for permits, where this is submit the second you're closed to subdivide it, and then boom, as long as you're within the zoning standards. So very low capital, not very capital intensive, so you can leverage it so highly. And you can parallel path so much of the project that allows you to, we can do 4 or 5 at a time. Whereas if we're building 4 or 5 $400,000 homes at a time, that's a big, you got to go to your investors and ask for $800,000,
right.
So. Yeah, I have a partner, actually a really good friend of mine, and he does similar to what you're doing. So he's buying lots, not lots, but houses, and he's actually built neighborhood now because of this strategy, where he'll buy one house, he'll make sure that you're able to subdivide that one, tear it down, and he builds one house, sells the other. Yeah. He started doing that, and he started selling them before they were even built in that neighborhood, beautiful properties, but it was taking him 6 to 8 months to build each one. But now that he's done enough cash flow, he's building them and keeping them all as Airbnbs. So he's got literally a neighborhood worth of Airbnbs. But I love your strategy because you're going out and you're finding a little bit of bigger lots and putting mobile homes on it. So the cost is like down here, and the build time is like down here, right? And you're getting almost, you said 100% at times? Financing?
The cool part is the second one we did, we brought in an investor. I think it was a small 3 lot where I think we brought an investor for like $50,000. So super low. And the hard money lender lent off of the original building. So we had 100% financing on the original plus the rehab. And then we brought in a little bit extra to do some of the land stuff. And so that was the first one. The second one, we asked them, can you guys create a product for us for this exact, game plan we're doing? So they appraised the land, gave us a percentage rate off of the land as held back costs they basically lent on the land. So we doubled dipped. So we have the whole house purchased with the land, and then we have a little bit of money per lot, so we can actually install some of the systems, clear, do all the actual work on the bank's dime, do the normal draw scheduler, but as used to, and then actually the mobile home dealer will actually then come back and then give us financing on stuff we've already paid for. So then we can cash out. So it's insane. Like we could come into these huge $2 million deals with very little capital. I want to make sure we're sitting good, and we'll bring in some private money to make sure, we can float all those costs. But it's essentially, you can do it with almost.
So how did you stumble upon this strategy?
Somebody proposed it to me. Some partner came to me and she said, hey, here's this lot. Here's what I've been doing with another partner. Will you guys fund it? And that was in the time where, this was pretty recent, the time where I was leveraging my lending partners. So I would say, hey, let me sign on this loan for you, and then you split profits with me. So I would just go use my lender and my experience, because a lot of these lenders require experience, as most people know. So I would leverage that, and I would say, yeah, I'll sign. You don't have any experience, but I underwrote the project, looks good. I'll sign on it. And it wasn't even me signing on the loan. It was just a JV agreement. So I would basically get into all these deals. And one of those deals somebody brought me, it was like, hey, we're going to buy this mobile home, we'll subdivide it. Here's what they'll sell for. And they proposed it. They said, I'll be the operator for it. We just need you to sign a loan and fund it. I said, okay, we have a little bit extra capital. We have the lending, we can do it. And so I agreed. I signed a JV agreement, and she bought it with our financing. And then I came in, we added ourselves to the deed afterwards, but operated the entire project. And I looked at it, I was like, it's nice. I like this idea. Met with some other people just around the space, continued to underwriting deals. And then I just got connected with my now partner, who we actually created an LLC together to do this exact strategy. And we're just taking it up one more level now.
And that's currently just in your market here. Have you looked at, is there any other potential markets that you've looked at, or you're really just trying to hone in on the process right now, right? And then become a true expert at it, and then maybe look at whatever's next.
I have more deals I can do. I have more opportunities that are coming to me than we can execute. So we're barely trying. That's the thing, that's what I like about this, is I'm looking at it with the, one of the partners is vertically integrated. They have their own soil company, their own septic company, their own clearing company. So they're able to, we can do it so easily. And with the lending that we have, I'm looking at deals and we're like, well, that's actually, we would make $200,000, but we'll pass on it. We'll do something, a little bit different, So we went from one deal to 6 deals in 3 weeks of people sending us deals, and they're all 6-figure profitable style deals. It's like, holy crap, so now I'm pumping the brakes, and I'm telling my partner, let's slow down. Let's make sure, let's not do 6 all in the same month.
Right.
Let's find out how we can organically scale into the next level. But as far as, market, we're in the Charleston Tri-County area. And with this mobile strategy, we can be in the tertiary markets, so in the areas that are up and coming. People don't want to be in HOAs. They want to be on 1 and 2 acres, and they'll pay a good amount for it. So we have FHA, style buyers that are lined up out the door looking at a $330,000 mobile home, that they're everywhere, So we have that back end buyer. It's like an affordable housing.
And reach.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, I have a couple questions around this, because number one, what's the lot size that you're looking for it to make sense to you? And what are some of the rules that you're looking at in terms of easement and road frontage? You gotta have driveways and stuff into these things, right?
Yeah.
In order for them to make sense.
You can 100% get caught with your pants down. That's the scary part is to the partnership thing is I made sure the person I was partnering with has already created neighborhoods. They've already done all of that stuff. That's not my expertise. I'm good at finding deals.
Yeah.
So I go out, I can get deals. The second I say, here's what we're looking for, I can find them. And he's like, okay, well, let's entitle it. And then the third pillar is the person that can actually, the operator with the clearing company and the septic company. So as far as size, it's all based on local zoning in different jurisdictions and different areas. We wouldn't do 2 lots or 3 lots. Now I think we're looking at, hey, let's do 3, 4, 5, 6, a little bit more, make it worth our time to keep the equipment all in the same spot. You know, if you're doing 2 mobiles and you're making $50K per each one, that's great. You know, that's better than most flips nowadays for that price point. But if we can make $300,000
for the same amount of time.
Yeah.
It's just math, right? That's what Kyle says. You know, when we're looking at these businesses, he's like, all right, you look at one that's $2 million or one that's $20 million. It's the same amount of work. It's just, you know, an extra zero or if we don't. But yeah, that's very cool.
You said something about, sorry.
No.
Let me ask this question real quick. You said something about organically growing to the next level. I'm curious what that looks like and what your like perspective for that is, because you could quickly, if you have the acquisitions team, you have the partners that can do it. What does organic mean to you? You mean like add the right systems, the right processes, or is it just like making sure that you don't get caught?
So that's great. So I'm looking at it as, so for instance, we had some wholesaling regulation that came down the pipeline a few months ago. Everybody freaked out. I pivoted immediately into flipping, just like, okay, I'll just buy everything. You know, the regulation came down, can't assign, can't do this strategy. So I bought like 10 flips all in like 5-week period. Well, going from none to, I had 1 or 2, now to 10, I scaled so fast that it hurt me, you know, to where I was like, all of these timelines are the same, to where, you know, you have 10 projects, you got $6 million of real estate that's charging you holding costs. It beat me up. We're in that back end of that cycle now where I'm selling all these off. I had 2 sell today, but I look at this next venture and taking that learning experience with that. I'm saying, okay, well, we closed on 2 the same month. We have 2 more coming up the next month. Let's maybe push those out. Let's say no to a couple projects that we aren't for sure on. Let's make sure we have the surveys done. If the sellers are going to terminate because we want an extension, then okay, we'll terminate it. And, you know, I'll pay the termination fee instead of it's showing profit, but I want to make 100% sure that as we organically grow, we find out what those limits are before we're sitting here looking at, well, I have 6 projects that are 10.
You can only get to so many.
Yeah. So I think we could do it, but there's no need to. You know, let's figure out this timeline. And I also was calling the lenders. I called the lender yesterday. And I said, what's your appetite for doing 5 of these at a time with me? I mean, you created a lending product for me out of the blue, and now I fed you 5 in 2 months. Are you okay with that? Do you want $5 million on your books of mobile home investment style? And he's like, well, that's a good question. No, let's keep sending me deals, but let's figure out, let's
fill a couple different buckets.
Let's have some on different timelines. So.
No, that's very similar to us on some of these refis on the hotels. Like some of them, you know, the rehab took a little bit longer, and now we've got investors that were expecting their money back, and it's like, all right, well, we have to refi, and where we would have gone before, either that bucket's already full, or maybe some of the credit unions are kind of coming back around. They're like, hey, we'd be interested in doing that, and not only doing it without even being open, but based on, you know, pro forma numbers, which, you know, that hadn't really been an option on the hotel front for us. So I can, you know, fully understand, you know, being wise enough to have that approach and not going in and doing a deal. And you take it to him, he's like, oh, sorry, bro, we can't do this time. You know,
I want to have my best ones. I want to have the juiciest deal in his bandwidth to be able to lend on it. And I want to take a bunch of the extra ones.
But that's part of having the communication, right? And just having conversations and not necessarily being overly friendly, but just kind of saying, hey, this is what's going on in our business. And, you know, not necessarily oversharing, right? But just say, hey, just keeping you informed with what we have going on and making sure your goals align with our goals and timelines and all that.
They appreciate it. They were like, oh, thank you for calling. That's huge. Why? Like, most people wouldn't know you thought of that. Like, exactly. I want to make sure. I try always to give more value to everybody around me, even if it's my lender. You know, like I get so many referral checks from my lender because I just try and give. So when I asked him to create that lending product for me, he did, because I had already given him 6 other clients. I already had $3 million of rehabs on the books. Like I was, you know, so he's like, yeah, you know, so that's when the first quote on our whiteboard in the office is give, then you ask. So it's always, what can I give to you? What can I give? Whether it's a banker, an insurance company, or whatever it is, when I needed that favor, boom, here's the product.
Yeah.
You know,
makes it that much easier. Yeah. But yeah, you're doing some things, obviously that interest me in us leaving the Charleston market and going to where we went, Carolina Beach and the Wilmington area is, you know, it's very similar to where Charleston used to be. We want to be part of that progress, and moving up there, we were able to pick up some hotels, and, you know, he just moved there, and we're getting ready to do one together, and figuring out all these, you know, different kind of strategies, because, you know, the fix and flip thing up there is also, you know, it's a smaller market, but there's also, you know, a smaller buyer pool, and those things are tight. So, you know, it gives us an idea of something that we could, you know, potentially look at. But I was also curious on that. So if you're doing, you know, 5 of them and you're selling those off individually versus converting them to, you know, a mobile home park. Right. So that's the other part of that zoning, is making sure that you're staying in compliance and not saying, I'm going to build these 6, I'm going to sell all 6 to one person, and they're going to have a park, and they're like, oh no, it's actually not, you know.
Exactly. So yeah, that's part of the zoning thing, is we look at like Flex 1 for Berkeley County. I think it's 0.69 or 0.67 acres as you can put a mobile on, you know, and that's the rule, you know. So I know if I have whatever the math is for 3 times 0.69, I can put 3 of them there, and I don't have to go and stand in front of anybody and say, can you please give me this variance or this change? It's going to get approved. It's going to say, yep, meets, boom, boom, stamp, good to go. So working with inside those bounds.
And also kind of going back a little bit with your lending relationship, right? I think it's important for the people to know that as you continue to work with folks, you know, they're going to want to see, you know, whether it's, some of them require tax returns, some of them don't. But they're going to want to see bank statements every 6 months, or they want to see, you know, what you've done. Have you actually been able to exit some of these? How much are you hanging on to? What is your cash flow looking like? You know, so I'm curious to know kind of if you've gone through that process with this lender yet, or if you kind of see that, you know, getting ready to kind of peak up. The reason I ask is I had a call today with our hard money lender. I think it was like our 6-month call. It was like, all right, here's where you're at with these, you know, 4 you have with us still.
Right.
And, you know, trying to figure out how to get out of, you know, one here, and we've got another one in Wilmington. But, you know, it was a good conversation. And that's just from having open lines of communication and not, oh, I got to take this call, or ducking the call, or scheduling it. So I was just curious, is that somebody that you've been working with for a while, or?
So I think it goes to a relationship thing. There is so many options for this product. It's just hard money lending. There's so many options. There's 10 lenders in this market, and I've seen 10 new lenders come into this market since my short time in real estate. And they're not all created equal. They're very much a relationship based thing. So, you know, I can go to one of my lenders and I can get terms that nobody else can. So building that track record and that relationship, and then, you know, leveraging it in the future has been huge. You know, I do try new lenders. I say, okay, well, I'll give you a shot. Well, I tried one recently, and being hard money, I'm expecting my normal terms are 100% purchase, 100% rehab. Like, I'm used to that. That's my standard now.
Yeah.
And so when a lender's like, well, you're going to have to put 10%
Yeah,
down.
90-90. Yeah.
And then it's, well,
I'm now 3.5 points.
you know,
right?
and then they're like, we need your bank statements, we need your tax returns, you're going to have to give a personal gain. I was like, well, actually, I can get way better. You know, my local guy that I can call on his cell phone, he's good, you know. And so I tried this bigger company, and I hate it. I went to submit a draw. It's a $250 draw fee. I'm talking to somebody, some virtual assistant, and I can't send photos. I have to go in person on their specific app. I was like, I don't have fucking time for that.
Yeah.
I got 15 projects that are similar. I usually just have my contractor send pictures. I send it on my app, and I get it approved in less than 24 hours with all my other lenders.
And the money's there.
The money's there.
Everybody's happy.
And so even if I can get a better rate, I won't. it's about that relationship. I could shop them and I could try and find the cheapest person, but the amount of hurdles and time and effort it's going to put is not worth the extra 1 point or.
Yeah. Cause then it disrupts your business.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are to be said about making sure that, who you're working with, how much does it trickle down? Not only does it make it more painful for you, but now it's straining the relationship with the people that are, counting on that money.
Yeah.
And some people have certain disciplines where they refuse, I'm paying for this money. I'm not going to use my money and get reimbursed. And so, we were in that position at one point where it's just like, hey man, we're waiting. Like, I know you got it later. I'm like, dude, like this is what we all signed up for. So. Yeah, so I want to kind of shift gears. We're talking about actual deal and deal flow and the day-to-day stuff, right? But part of that and part of being here is obviously sharing your story. And I love following what you guys are doing, and we're putting a bunch of stuff out too. But I was kind of curious to hear more about your marketing strategy and how you're filming your content and how often you're doing it, what type of equipment you're using. If you talk a little bit about that.
That's huge. I think just the branding, it's hard. It takes time to get you established, so this has been if I started in 20, this has been a 4-year journey for me of being consistent and just consistently doing things over and over and over again. So I started free where I would just take all my own content on the iPhone, just take pictures, share it to your story, take videos, take before and afters, just share your story with people. People love to see that. They love to see it coming across as genuine. They don't want, people hate gurus and they can sniff them out.
Oh yeah.
So being genuine, I did that for 2-3 years of just me doing my own content, and you'd be so surprised on, I know, but of how many opportunities come your way because of that. I had my financial advisor just basically gave me his own money to put with me and invest, which is like, that was humbling. Is holy shit. Like he's seen what I've been doing and he reached out and said, hey, I would actually want to lend with or like invest with you because of what you're doing, what I've seen, because of what I've been doing on social media, marketing and branding. And once I saw how much it actually was starting to bring in, I was looking at my whiteboard, I was saying 50% of my deals are referrals. Like, holy shit, I don't spend any money on that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, how do I spend money on it and double it or do more? So decided to, I was having a chat, it was like 9:00 after I host a event. So I was hosting an event, I spoke and I talked, and then this guy came up to me who has run a very successful brokerage. He said, hey, you should do more content. You should film, you should hire a videographer and you should take it one step up. And I said, okay. And next week I had a videographer on staff, basically full time. He follows me around and he's in Italy or Spain or something right now for some other side quest. But yeah, I said, hey, I want you to follow me around for 4 days a week for a few hours. Obviously there's office work and there's stuff that's not interesting, but get these big things, like get me walking a house, get me doing whatever. And I captured that. And then I just started posting every single day at the same time. And every time I talk to somebody I haven't seen in a few months or years, they said, hey man, I love what you're doing with your content.
Right.
And just because they're seeing what we're doing and the amount, I probably get 5 or plus leads per day for free just from that.
Wow.
Easy of just people messaging me. And I would show you receipts of just people that would just send me, hey, here's another deal. What do you think of this? And so I've gotten so good at underwriting so quickly. Boom, boom, boom. Look at the deal next.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. And so now I have this free funnel that only, I've already built. Now it's running and it's a train. It's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah.
People aren't going to stop sending me deals if I don't post a video. So that's been the single biggest thing I've changed recently. That's just paid dividends
and the videos are good. I mean, I like your style of the day in the life is very similar when we were here doing the fix and flip, very similar. I mean, we've self-funded a YouTube show on, it's called Coastal Chronicles, and it's, I don't know, 6 or 8 episodes of high level video stuff. And basically, you're mimicking the same thing on a much more like daily level and way more consistent. But hey, you go in, try to kick a door in. You're like, I wish Dan was here because he actually could kick the door in.
Yeah.
But then you get in there and you're like, all right, here, we're going to take this down and we're going to do it like because of this. And this is what it's going to do. And actually explaining the processes of it. And then you go, all right, we're going to go to the bathroom or whatever. And there's a lot of people that are waiting to take that first leap, right? And then when they see that it's actually, somebody they're following, they're actually there, they're on the job or whatever, whether you're the one actually doing the work or not, that doesn't matter. But being the property owner and showing, hey, I actually have a vested interest in the process. That goes a long way.
And you speak to what you did when I saw, your boutique hotel style content, I was looking at that and it's ingrained in my mind. So I had a hotel come across as a lead. And I'm like, who's the guy? You. And I reached out to you and I said, hey, do you have anything? Well, whatever it was. And we connected on a deal. But it was just like, that is what happens every single day is you see it is when you're just creating that content, people are going to start you build that credibility as people see, I know you're a credible source. If you're a guru, well, maybe you're a guru. I don't know. I mean, it seems like you're doing when you see it actually, and like you can see the before and afters and you see, wow, you took a X amount of units and it's beautiful now. And like you're showing how it's rented, you show your profit and you're showing the receipts and people say, wow, like he's a real deal. Yeah. And then that builds all of those relationships that you never had before.
Yeah. But there's also a part of it, right? At some point, you either run out of stuff to film or stuff to talk about. So then you start recycling other things. Or there's some of these gurus, right? That's all they do is sit and talk to people all day, every day. And they got, virtual businesses and that's great. But now it's like, all right, they've been doing this for 8 years. Now they're talking about stuff that just like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Their brand is for the deals that they've been part of. Like stop doing deals and they're still talking about like random nonsense.
I think,
or their convention they're going to put on. You need to come in and learn wholesaling for $297 and a free seat or whatever.
I think there's so much to be said about being a real person and just being organic and genuine and just never selling yourself out. I think people almost are waiting for people to sell themselves out. The second somebody finally makes it, then they put an ad. People lose their minds. Like, oh, you're a sellout. You're sponsored by HelloFresh or something, like whatever. Just continue to be genuine to yourself. And I think just at some point, there will be a point where we've made it. Sure. It's like, okay, I have the deals. I have what I need. I don't need to feed the constantly new growing machine. But I think people want to see the growth. They want to see you grow through different phases, whether it's your life. And that's why I always scream personal brand. Yeah. It's not necessarily a business. It's who you are. Like screaming who I am as I continue to grow in life, people are just going to eat that content up. And so whatever I'm doing, if I shift to some different style of business, that I'll have that support already, and people will be like, oh, what's next?
Yeah, because that might be your next phase. I know you have one of the subgroups of the local REI, and so part of that might turn into where you might do a teaching course or whatever that next high level thing is, because eventually maybe you hand that off the day-to-day operations to somebody else. But I think that's so important to just continue to share. And, if you take a little break and just recycle stuff back through, but, you can have somebody edit it a different way, or break it down a little bit different. You know what I mean?
There's always new things happening in your life.
Not everybody sees the same video, and there's a ton of new stuff happening. Everybody's actually
right. Yeah, and you don't know who's, you can add and lose followers, or we'll do this and put it out, and I'm sure I'll pick up a couple new people. You'll pick up a couple new people. The podcast will, and it's like just got to recycle, reintroduce yourself. When
that person, whoever your avatar is that you're trying to reach, whenever they're finally ready to be reached, you're still there for them. Like I had a lender reach out to me and said, hey, we only lend to like 10 people locally in the area. We're over here in Isle of Palms. We only lend out our private money. We have these great terms. I've been following you for a year. Right. So like it took that long for him to realize, okay, he's been consistent. It's been good, so if you continue and you're consistent, people will say, this guy's no joke. Like he's serious about this. It might take 2-3 years, but by the time they're finally ready, they're like, hey, I sold my house. I have $200,000. Can I lend with you or can I invest with you?
Yep.
I don't have a ton of time to do. Are you using any sort of AI in your business or?
No.
Or with your content?
No. So the videographer that I have follows me around about 4 hours a day for 4 days a week. So Monday through Thursday. If I need him other times, I just let him know. And then it's X amount of dollars per week is what I pay him. And then he's supposed to edit, give us a thumbnail. We're mainly doing Instagram Reels.
Right.
Give us a thumbnail, give us the video, put captions on it, and then we put it in this organized folder system, and then we have everything planned out, and then we just post it. So probably in a few minutes, my executive assistant is going to say, hey, this is the content for the day. Can you approve it? Boom. And then it goes out.
Yeah.
It's, it's a machine, and just build it and keep going.
I love that too.
Well, it's, for some people it might be intimidating. It comes easier to some people, but I think at the end of the day, you got to start. You know what I mean? And you'll get better at it if you're not good at it. But
to that point is I took the risk of deciding to bring on a videographer full time. That's a big risk when you're looking at I could hire 2 people in his place for acquisitions. So saying, okay, I could hire 2 full-time employees, or I could pay a videographer to do this on the hopes that it works out. That's a big risk.
Yeah.
We don't have that much dispensable income in the business to be able to do. So I took that, and it's been like, oh wow, this is great.
Well,
So
it would make sense in terms of your return on investment, because if 50% of your lead source is coming from that social media, why not have a guy walk around and show true shit that you're going through to where it's going to be like, oh man,
and then
I've been saying the whole time.
Yeah, the hardest part was I knew I needed to be doing content. I got engagement, and I saw things were good and things were happening, but forcing myself to film is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Forcing myself to film and edit is like that. I always talk about like what's heavy to you. That's heavy. Like that's like if I just set up a tripod, come up with my own script, and I got to film it and I got to edit it, I can't do it.
Same.
So having somebody that'll do it, and then I know it'll get done, and that forces you to do it. So it forces me to come up with stuff. Knowing that I'm paying him is the biggest thing.
Are you coming up with the script, or he's kind of sees your style and he's like, hey, today let's jump into boom, boom, boom? Or do you kind of have more control on it?
So far, it's been very unscripted. It's been, hey, I'm doing this walkthrough. I'm going to a closing. Where we close on this property, we're going to do whatever it was. It was basically appointment based. So I just said, hey, we're going to do these things today. Just follow me around and we'll see what happens. And then I would just spitball from there.
Sure.
So I would just say, hey, let me talk about what's happening today. So talking about this LVL header in this, living room and open whatever it is just spitballing it. And now we're getting into a little more, I'm getting good engagement. Let's script out a couple things and let's do a little bit more planned out content where it's just not,
How much has that, do you feel like, one, the investment, right? But 2, knowing you got somebody showing up 4 days a week has really kind of instilled even more discipline in you to make sure that you're, living life the right way, making sure you're ready, because I can tell you from some of my stuff, we were not in a good place, and the guy shows up and it's like, oh, I'm hungover as hell and my eyes are all puffy. It look like ass. So as opposed to like, hey, this dude's here 4 days a week. I'm gonna be up, be looking good. I'm gonna feel fresh. And how much has that really helped refine your routine?
Yeah, it's that route. It's the routine. It's talking about habits. It's doing it over and over again until it just feels like, hey, this is what I do. I'm this type of person now.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit, but once it was, we're starting to do meetings and we're planning it out more. And it's great, and if I don't have content for a day, then I'm like, well, I know 6 other people that have asked me about content, so I'll farm him out and say, hey, go film this guy, go get some content from the outside, and then bring it back. So it's just, it's the best thing I've done in a while.
Are you filming just business stuff, or also just day to day, like you going to the gym, working out, walking around?
No, yeah, that's a good point.
Income producing stuff, right?
Yeah. So it's mainly business focused.
Well, personal brand is income producing, so
True.
Definitely.
So right now, content is based on business that I can film throughout the normal workday. My stories are my life. So my stories are if I find a meme, if I think something's fun, like I'm getting engagement through my stories, and that's my personal thing. That's easy to me. That feels light.
Yeah.
I can take a few pictures, put up a caption, share my thoughts, and share that. And people look at stories and they say, this is the real person. And that's why I try to show there. So if I'm something about my pregnant wife or my baby or whatever it is, that's where I'm putting personal stuff. And then I'll put, any life events get posted on the personal brand on the story as well. On the page. And then business reels are the main thing. Like I'm not currently doing reels and content of me like going on a vacation or something or going to the gym yet, but it's not necessarily valuable.
People are going to connect with the people they like. If you're doing things that people like, if you're recording it, you can order one and that person.
Yeah. Just this stuff is good. I'd tell you if it sucked. No, it's good. You're doing good, and it's consistent. And I think that might be like we talked about. As you go through these phases, eventually, we might get burned out on it, or you hand it to the next person that replaces you, or whatever that next phase is. Let's look at what this looks like.
If I was talking to somebody new that was getting started, I'd probably say, hey, like, this is something you can do for free. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm doing it because it's making me do it, and I put numbers to the growth. But for you, start building it now so that I associate. I want to be. You want to be in the forefront of people's minds all the time. Like, who's the one guy when I get that perfect deal am I going to call? I would have never gotten called for some of these leads from these big wholesalers, and I wasn't constantly showing them that I want to be on the top of their list. Because that is the amount of time it would take for me to follow up and be able to reach all those people. I can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So
I think it's also important too to not get lost in consuming so much social media that you don't have time to focus on the thing that's actually.
If you think about are you consuming more content than you produce?
Yeah.
Then you're just like, consuming is just a negative thing, and I am so guilty of it.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. You need to be doing way more creating than consuming. And some people are like, you don't even look at my stuff. I'm like, I get it. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, but we're just trying to get this stuff out here and get stuff going, and then we'll all take a family vacation together. How about that? What I mean? So.
Yeah, so dude, we're coming to the top of the hour. Being that this is the Big Break Show, we always ask 3 questions here. So, do you have a defining moment that you would consider your big break from before, maybe like getting you from the Navy to investing, or maybe starting at a different level of investing to the investing you're doing now? Is there a defining moment that you can really say, thanks to that, I am where I'm at now?
I think I've had a couple small ones since the big, but the main one would probably be the situation with my family of, father passing, realizing that I can't do this. This is the W-2 life will kill me. I need to do something different. And I made my mind up that my why is so big that I'm going to accomplish something. It doesn't matter if I fail, I'll just do it again. That was probably my big defining moment is I'm going to provide for my family the life that I wish my father would have had. Even though it was great, it was just not the way I would have had it. I would have,
So I guess to kind of piggyback on that, what moved the needle from when you decided to take that action to actually
consistency? The being consistent, doing probably the easiest metric to track is if you're in real estate would be how many offers you're putting in per week or per day, and just doing that no matter what is I tell my team, we're going to put in, you need 11 offers a day. That can be verbal, that can be text. 11 a day is going to be 55 a week, and that's going to get you 2 contracts. It's just that type of mindset of I took 6 months off. I saw what happens when I didn't put in offers every single day. Nothing happened. So that's the easiest thing to just consistently do.
I know someone who did the same thing, and now they're back working a W-2 job. So the next question is, what is the best advice that you've ever received? That could be business related, family related, whatever it is.
Yeah, I heard you guys ask this question on the previous podcast, and I was thinking of what I was going to say. I still don't have an answer. That's good. Best advice, I think, would probably come down to just the thought process of what's heavy, what's heavy in your business or in your life, and do what feels light. So if I knew 2 years ago that administrative work was the heaviest thing for me. I hated that. I couldn't do taxes. I couldn't do the receipts and all of the bookkeeping. And I just knew that would unravel me. So the first hire I made before anybody else was an executive assistant. And then from that, I was able to offload some of the things that burdened me throughout the day mentally. You have to be in the right mental space in this business as an entrepreneur all the time, as much as you can. So doing the light things that was able to produce income, was able to shift me into the right spot.
That's huge. That's a great mentality too. Mm-hmm. Great mindset too. Mm-hmm. So many people want to do all the BS day to day.
Let go of it.
Yeah.
And learn it early.
Mm-hmm. Learn it, know what you need to be looking for, offload it.
Correct. I love that. Mm-hmm. So what's an actionable step that you can give our listeners and viewers here that they can take right now and apply what we've been talking about?
Go talk to people. If you're not talking to somebody all day long, you're not going to grow. So my highest dollar per hour activities are talking to people throughout the day, whether that's a real estate agent, you guys, this is going to pay. There's not a dollar amount tied to this, but the value that's going to come out of it is huge, so just going, and if you're trying to accomplish, hey, let me get something under contract, go talk to X amount of homeowners per day and track it and do it no matter what.
Yeah, real estate's a really relationship heavy business and a really heavy people business. I have a buddy, big story. He's not really a buddy, an associate from one of our masterminds. And I guess just another mastermind person. If I talk to him, I wouldn't call him a buddy, but we talk. Yeah. And he was meeting the same person, I think 3 years, every single week for lunch. And it took him 3.5 years. And finally, the guy had a deal to offload, and he was the first person to come to mind. And it ended up being something like $18 million deal for 3 years of lunch meetings. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So talking to people is fantastic. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah. If you're just going to sit back and expect things to happen and you're just going to listen, and people they get the analysis paralysis, and it's just go out there and tell people what you're doing, what you're looking for, and you'll meet. I'm always amazed is like when I need maybe like an insurance agent or an HVAC person or whatever it is, and I'm out there talking with people and I mention that, they're like, well, actually, here's this like secret guy that I use, and then it just fulfills itself right there in front of you just by putting yourself out there.
Yeah. So I tell people all the time, talk about what you do as much as you can. Always be selling.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been a fantastic conversation. Yeah. Don't be a secret agent. Is a big one. Yeah. Yeah, this was awesome, dude. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah. No, great conversation. Appreciate your time.
Awesome.
Anything you want to tell the listeners or where to get a hold of you, how to find you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you go to Hayden, which is Hayden, every time I pronounce it, people drop off the H. But yeah, Hayden Albert, just search that on Instagram. It's just my name. I'm big there. Don't have a huge following yet, but maybe when this comes out, I will. But just consistently on there. And then I have a YouTube, HJ Operative, and find me on Facebook, Hayden Albert, and just follow along.
Cool.
Appreciate you being here, man. Yeah. Any final thoughts?
We covered it all.
Yeah, this was a really good conversation. You dropped some really good strategies, so thanks for being here, dude.
Yeah.
See you guys on the next one.
See ya.